Well, it's some stupid song, so cool and delicious. So I was like, that's hilarious. So it goes on his live right now. You got a post of your life? It's awesome.
So did I, so.
Give everybody 30 seconds. I'm 60. Less curious. What should we start today? The last investigation was at the school class while we were doing that. Where? We just see a big crack on the skull. Show you this? Well, the last investigation, they looked at it. It's crack. Anybody there yet? Thank you, good. Welcome, everybody.
Actually, 5. There's 5 because it shows on my phone differently than it does here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk. Here on St. John with the Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunter Society. I'm here with Carmen, our founder, Butch, Jeff Schlachter from Boo Productions, and of course, our special guest, Adam. Adam, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I had a psychic moment earlier. I envisioned you being here with us tonight for some reason.
And lo and behold.
And there you are. Anyways, it's been a busy time the last couple weeks, and we're going to talk about a lot of things here at the end of the show. So the last 10 minutes, we'll get into some thank yous and talk about our Ghost Hunting 102 classes and our field trip and things. Holiday Angels, we delivered our gifts today. I was just showing Carmen a text how grateful the family was on the basket that her and Dan had made for this family. It was really awesome. So anyways, it's the holiday season. Everybody's busy. So I want to take a minute to thank everybody, our followers that are out there, and obviously Adam's followers as well, that taking the time to join our show tonight. This is going to be really interesting. In about 5 or 10 minutes or so, because I want to get in and talk to Adam myself a little bit, I'm going to slip away for a little while, and then we're going to come back at the end of the show with a special guest as well. So anyways, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Krampus to everybody. We have Sully here tonight in Krebs and Bigfoot for all of our Bigfoot fans. So, Adam, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm really excited about this show tonight. Here's the thing. Things are changing. I've always been interested in psychic mediums and things of the nature that you do. Even our own group, we have some very sensitive people, Carmen being one of them, Michelle being another one. Even Butch, our founder, has had his moments. And on the other hand, Dan and I are more skeptics, and we kind of roll up our sleeves and go to work. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell us about you. How did this start? You take us all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you're wearing 3 hats. I mean, you're a psychic medium, you're a musician,
right,
and you're a paranormal investigator. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I started off, I mean, it was a lot later in life. So I'm like one of these, I don't want to call it new age type of thing, but it took a little bit longer before I finally heard the calling. You know, and growing up, I didn't really have, you know, spirits talking to me. I didn't have a haunted house that I lived in or anything like that. I did have psychic moments growing up, and they started, the very first time it ever happened was when my first grandfather died. I had all these visions of exactly how I was going to be informed of his death, and I knew who was walking through I knew how the room was set up, who was talking, the tones, all that stuff happened. And when at that time I was like 10 years old, 11, and it just threw me off because I'm like, how did I know all this? And then it happened, and it just, it changed me, but I didn't tell nobody.
Didn't it scare the hell out of you?
It did, because I didn't know why. And at that time, being 10, 11, you don't really hear about all this other stuff because ghost hunting and mediums and all that was all taboo back then in the 80s.
Well, something that should be, is that scarier than a young guy like me that was growing up in a haunted house and I was actually witnessing the paranormal and see the shadow person? Which one of them is scarier?
I don't know. I'd probably be a little bit more on your side just because, if it's on a daily basis, whereas mine was once in a while on something that was personal to me. I didn't see like a world event thing go on or something. That was always something in my life. I mean, it got to be more comical than later on when I was getting into high school and even after high school, just about the time that, the mediumship stuff started calling. But I started getting goofy things. And one of my funniest things ever was I was in my car driving home from work, and I got a cartoon show popped in my head, Rocky and Bullwinkle. And I'm like, why am I thinking of Rocky and Bullwinkle? The very next day at work, we were all sitting there getting ready to do our jobs for the day, and all of a sudden they go, you know what? They just started talking about old-fashioned cartoons, and somebody said Rocky Bowlink, and I just kind of looked the other way and went, well, that's weird, you know. So, but it was cool. And then fast forward real quick. Then I got married in 2004 or four. I've always been into outdoor survival, and this is a weird way to segue into the mediumship. But I took an outdoor survival class. My wife and I did, and so. But one of the classes, besides learning how to, live in case you didn't have anything, if you weren't prepared,
Sure.
They had a class called Shamanic Journeys, and it's odd. And the class is still around. The school's still around. I still talk to them. In fact, I'm going to be talking to the owner this week and the head instructor. But the Shamanic Journeys was basically teaching you how to talk to your spirit guides. And I thought, well, that's kind of neat. And why would you do that? And it's like, well, you can help you in different aspects of your life. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in my 20s at this point. And I'm thinking, I got some things I'd like to get some answers on.
Sure.
And so, I signed up for the class, and he had a class 1 and a class 2. Took those classes, loved it, and then for the next 7 years, which is also the same time when all the ghost shows were coming on, especially Ghost Hunters. I was practicing on my stuff and talking to my guys.
So he would have been your mentor.
Yes.
Your teacher.
Yep. Yeah, and you want to know, it's Midwest Native Skills Institute. That's the name of the school. They're out of Cleveland, Ohio. The head instructor is Tom Wcislek, good friend of mine. He learned from somebody else that learned it from a Native American. So it's really more of a Native American way of doing things, shamans, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But it's helped me so much. And so while I was watching all these ghost shows, while I was practicing everything for 7 years, I was like, you see a medium pop on, I'm like, if I'm talking to my own guides, how much different can it be if I'm going to sit there and work away from my guides, but then talk to something else? And so then I started actively looking for teams, and then I got fortunate enough to where my dad, who's also a musician, he was playing at the old mill in Dundee,
Sure.
And he saw a little flyer that said, "Hey, we do ghost hunts here." And my dad comes home the next morning, he's calling up, "Hey, we gotta go, man, because we were talking about this. Let's do this. Let's do it." So sure enough, we signed up, and then it was in April of 2012 that did my very first ghost hunt.
So you had the support of your dad. Your dad was into the paranormal and believed wholeheartedly in psychic mediums.
Well, he wasn't a big fan of the psychic mediums, but he was big on the paranormal. He's like you. You really got to have the evidence to support everything else. If you're picking up with stuff, how do you know? And I get that. But for him, he just loved it. His favorite tool is the recorder. He when he goes on them, he's next day he's got his headphones on and he's going through them.
So has it helped you being a paranormal investigator? Did it go hand in hand? All three hats. It seems kind of odd to me, but did one help the other, or did one lead you into the other path?
The investigator side, I think, was a good basis. Even though I was already learning things, but see, as I was perfecting, the common skills that we need, learning to give time in between questions and things like that. And that's when I was working with the team I'm on, SWPI, their medium. And so I was just kind of slowly incorporating things as I was building up that aspect.
What a great group too.
Yeah.
Tim is a very special man. We think the world of him. So you play the Native American flute.
Yep.
I've watched some of your videos on that, and I find it a type of a meditation. Carmen's always telling me kind of to chill out and maybe meditate or sometimes just be quiet.
Yeah.
But I've always found that soothing to me. I don't have the knowledge that obviously you do. And this brings you into this thing as well. You've joined a group a couple of years ago, and I'm just going to put you on the spot for the show as well because I'm intrigued by both of you. And let me try to clarify. Carmen is one of our lead investigators. She was a Ghost Hunting 101, 102 student. But she's gone into these locations that we've been doing over the past couple of years, and you could tell just by looking at her, she's putting her story together. She's watching Butch and I and Dan and Jeff, investigate with Michelle and Becky. But I think she's already got in her mind's eye. Were you born with this gift, or was it, like you said, it came later on in life?
I think it runs in my family.
So that it was handed down to you.
Yeah. I didn't know it was in my family until I was 30 something, because we just never talked about those kind of things.
Well, like Adam said, he was talking to people from the other side. To me, I call that a haunting. No offense to anybody, but I call that a paranormal experience. For you, did it scare you? Was that same things happen? I guess How did it happen? When did you realize that, wait, this might be outside the box a little bit?
I think the very first time was, I was probably like 8, and things just, I knew what was going to happen before we went, and I saw a grandmother, my cousin's grandmother, go into the bathroom, and then like 5 minutes later, we got a phone call saying that she had just passed away. I just saw her.
So what's your reaction? Did that scare the hell out of you?
I thought it was normal because it had been my whole life.
You too? You guys think this is just normal?
Now, yeah.
See, when the shadow man should come down the attic stairs, that wasn't normal to me. That's the furthest thing from normal. I guess, I'm so intrigued. I think I've had sensitive moments, but I mean, nothing like what you guys are doing. We go on these cases and we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to have Butch and Jeff talk a little bit about the Maxwell hunting, if we may. Ian's allowed us to talk about it. But what an amazing thing happened. And I want you to share that with our followers and your followers. But, take the Maxwell, for instance, for you, or any other case. When you first started going on these investigations with us, do you think it helps you or hinders you? Or if that makes any sense? I mean, are you looking at us like, Butch and Harold, you guys are just, maybe you guys don't have a clue what's going on here.
Kind of, yeah.
No, I mean, I understand that and I respect that. I can look at you sometimes and you're like rolling your eyes at me, and I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because we're in the basement and the guy's clearly up in the attic.
Right. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit. So share with our followers what it's like, and I want you to chime in here because you worked on cases too. What's it like when you have guys like Butch and I and Dan running all these cameras and we got all these recorders, and what we're doing. We're documenters. We're trying to find unfounded proof of the paranormal that cannot be created or debunked in any way, shape, or form. What is your approach working with a paranormal group like Toledo Ohio Ghost Hunter Society? Tell us what that's like.
When I go, if I'm opening myself up to the mediumship aspect of ghost hunting for myself, I usually go the opposite places where you guys are because most of the time they don't want to be.
Well, it's like Dr. Ken used to say, Harold, you're scaring the hell out of these ghosts.
Yeah, basically.
You're coming in confronting and stirring the tree, hoping to find that fruit will fall. But
that's why Jeff always says that he wants to go with me because more stuff happens when it's just us.
Honest to God, true.
Well, Jeff's just a cold follower.
But I'm the same way. Carmen and I love to be together.
So tell us about your first case when you were with Toes and you saw what we were doing. And obviously, I mean, you can only dog me so much because your husband's identical to me when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
She looks at you both and goes, rookies.
Right. Well, what's it like? I want you to take us into a location, okay? And give us you've been the case manager on several occasions when Becky's working. You get the report. You talk to the clients of all the things that may be going on in the house. So now, what is so different from your approach going into the house than besides Dan and I and Butch carrying 100 suitcases?
I think the biggest difference is I don't read any of the research like a team member is supposed to. I don't want to know.
Right.
Because in my mind, that's tainting me just the way you feel that I taint you.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Good
I
sense.
don't read any of the research. I go in there and just open up and see what's there. And like with Maxwell, that place is like a truck stop.
Sure.
It was just, it wasn't
In and out.
Yeah, it wasn't a particular group
No,
that
yeah,
was
I get that.
staying there.
And that's the way the house is always going to be, I think.
Yeah.
I think that Century Tavern was kind of that way that night
Yeah.
over there. It was. I think the word was out that, hey, you got a group of about 5 sensitive people over there. Let's go talk. It's just because we were getting stuff a lot with that particular group. The other group really wasn't getting much.
So what is your approach with Tim and the gang from Dundee? I mean, obviously they do some things like we do. They do their research. They find out whatever deaths may have taken, whatever could be causing this haunting. I mean, do you get involved in reading that? Like we usually have a get together before you. I mean, you guys have that, or you just go in with like a blindfold on?
So, everybody, somebody, whoever gets the call, Tim usually answers most of our emails and things like that and or phone calls. So if those come in, Tim usually funnels that. He does, like anything, he's got kind of a checklist and he writes it all down, just kind of getting all the basics, and things. And then, if it sounds like, they're okay, they're not way out there with, some outlandish stuff,
Sure.
then we'll proceed with things. And so then he'll give me a call saying, hey, I got a case. And, do you want to know something? You don't want anything. And I'm like, Carmen, I don't want to know anything. So I will just stay out of it. And what we'll do is on Facebook, because sometimes we can't get everybody to meet. What we'll do is we'll use a Facebook and we'll put a group chat together. So we'll put a team page.
Sure.
And we'll just, everybody say, hey, we can make this, and we go from there. And then they'll put a separate one out there minus me to say, okay, here's the claims, guys. This is what we need to look out for. This is what we need to try to debunk or figure out. And then what I'll do is when I come in, they usually let me do the first run. So some of them will hang back, some will go with me because they already know. So
Do you share that information with them?
I do.
Okay.
So I basically do the first walkthrough, and whoever wants to come with me can come with me. So they're filming it, recording it, bringing some of the gear with that. They just let me do my thing. I go where they want. Now, if that's what I did in the beginning, I do something different now. So when I find out that we have a case, I usually find out, can we do a remote view session? So I said, I need written permission from the owner to do that. So what I do now is to try to avoid the amount of time to be on site, because some of these people are going to be there because 99% of the time we can't get the owners to leave. So they usually go hide out in the living room or something like that. What we do is I do the remote view where I go in there, I find out what's going on. Again, don't know anything. I do the house, I see what's going on. I say, okay, these are the spots these spirit or spirits like to hang out. So I said, these are the rooms we definitely have to hit. Doesn't mean we shouldn't go everywhere, right? But these are the ones we got to hit first because this is where they're mostly hiding and this is where they're doing some of their things. And I'll usually, pick up what they're doing. So if they're knocking on walls or saying stuff or whatever, I usually tell them what I'm getting and what they're showing me that they do to the people that are there. And then we'll get there. We do that whole thing. We go to the rooms. Well, almost 9 times out of 10, when we go to the rooms that I picked up on in the remote view session, immediately right out of the gate, we're getting recordings where we're getting something, people are seeing something out of the corner of their eyes, so all that stuff's playing into, a pretty cool factor. So, and then once I do the walkthrough, we then sit back and then we kind of just go in and I kind of start shutting down a little bit and start bringing out my equipment and then start to see if we can just do, I work right alongside with them and we'll just
See if they're connected to. Well, you said something really interesting to me, and Carmen basically says the same thing. When you're going in, you didn't want to know.
Right.
But on the other flip side, if I may play devil's advocate, we don't have a devil here. And if Joe Shortridge joins us, and that one's for him. You don't want to know. Being a documenter, it's such as myself working with Butch and Dan all the time. We don't want to know what you have to say. And I don't mean that to be rude because Carmen has proved to be very, very accurate. Obviously, you worked with us on a case where you were completely accurate. I guess, and I want to talk about this, so I don't want to lose this. Butch, I want to get you involved in the show as well. I can remember a couple of cases, and you're in the middle. You're riding the fence, kind of like Jeff Schlachter is, where we have a ton of respect for Carmen and Michelle and Adam. But you roll up your sleeves and you must do your EVP sessions. You must do your research. You must follow up and then you do all of our baseline readings. So you're very grounded. You want to make sure that the house is okay. So how do you feel about this whole psychic thing or sensitive, in the paranormal workplace?
Well, first of all, documentation is the main thing to me. But on occasions, working with her, I felt the same thing that she did. So it goes hand in hand, maybe, but most of all, it's the equipment I go with first, okay?
Maybe Carmen can explain this better. I've noticed over the past 20-something years, when you have, and I call it, an opening or an awakening of something. Butch has had these in several places. Moran Street was one. The Moonville Tunnel in the middle of the night was another, where you would open yourself to this psychic realm or to this other world, so to speak. And every time you've had that, you've had to remove yourself from the investigation because you either A, become ill, or B, didn't know how to handle what you were feeling, and therefore you couldn't do your job anymore at that point, and you had to leave and regroup. And so sometimes Lucky Michelle's been there or Carmen's been there. I mean, is this possible? Can this make us ill?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does a guy like Butch, who's trying to stick to his guns. He's trying to document. He's trying to be like Dan and I, which always wants to be like Dan and I. Just teasing you. I mean, how does he overcome that? If we're going to introduce psychics in the paranormal work field to work side by side during these investigations, what do we do about a guy like Butch, who every time he has an awakening, and he's so used to doing things one way that this can cause an ill effect for him?
I think it's just like you have people going to ghost hunting 101 and 102 to learn how to use this equipment and stuff too. The same has
She got her plug in.
the same has to be done with mediumship. You can't just take somebody and like, okay, I'm open.
Well, I mean,
Because when you get that stuff, you're not going to know what to do with it.
and I think with somebody like Butch, he's not expecting it, and it's like coming up from behind. I mean, we obviously open up with opening prayers. I'm very much involved in the prayers that you and Michelle do. I think for myself, I'm just too busy to allow it to happen, if that makes any sense. So I'm not affected by any of these. And even if I do, I'll tell the guys I have to go out and blow one or something. I need 5 minutes or get a cup of coffee or something. But I don't think that's not happening to me. I'm so busy thinking, geez, Dan, move camera number 4 over into room number 3. And did we set up this recorder here?
Right.
I mean, can that block? I mean, can that take what could be a gift that Butch is having or has? Could that be taken away from that? Does it make sense?
Everybody on this planet has that ability.
Yes, you said that to me. Everybody but me, you said.
You block it out more than anybody, I think, but it's just developing it, learning how to control it, how to turn it on and off, I guess, because nobody wants to live their life 24/7, having spirit around them all the time and feeling everybody's emotions and everything that's happening. You want to go to Kroger's and shop. You don't want to feel everybody that's happening.
And go ahead, Butch.
I do remember one time when we were down to Gloucester, you and I both got hit at the same time. You got deathly ill. You remember that?
Yeah, but we were going to bring that up tonight.
Oh, well. But what I'm saying is, we both got hit at the same time.
Why don't you go ahead and tell about Mothman when I ran out screaming like a little girl? Well, we just air all of our dirty laundry.
No.
I think we should do a show like that sometime.
No, I mean, you're right. And I'll share this with you. Butch and I, very quickly, because the show's not really about us, but we want to talk about every once in a while, we have this awakening. And the Ghost of Gloucester is a story that Jeff is making into a documentary for us that I think is pretty interesting. I arrived on location. You could say it was in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, so very hilly terrain. But we got out of the car, it became ill. In Carmen, Adam, I stepped out of the car. I turned to Butch, almost like I was in a trance of some kind. I said, "He doesn't want us here." Butch says, "Who?" That man standing back there that's in the dirty clothes, he looks like he works in a coal mine. He's drunk on whiskey and he's here to kill us. He's yelling, "Get off the property." Butch says, "I don't see anybody." Well, it wasn't within a couple of minutes he started feeling things. The bottom line is I ended up not spending the night at this cabin. One of those little sissy girly things that Butch calls on. I couldn't spend the night. And we went for coffee very quickly down the hill. The next day, Butch and I approached the family, and I told him what had happened. And the man I saw in my mind's eye, I even got the name right, which was like shocking. And I said, "He's chasing this woman around. He's screaming. And my God, I think he's got a gun." And she goes, "Oh yeah, Great Grandpa used to get really drunk sometimes on whatever he was making in the back cave, and his wife would hide in the woods from him when he get to drinking." And the bottom line is we were 100% accurate. Go ahead.
We both didn't even talk about it. And then all of a sudden, after I got him down the hill a little bit, because I had to drive, I says, "That guy had this on, this on, and this on." And he says, "I seen the same thing."
Yeah.
So.
And that was several years ago. That's never happened before or since. We're simultaneously. So here's an interesting question then. If somebody wants to be seen, like that guy wanted to be seen, he wanted to be known that he did not want us on his property, that we were not welcome there. Would that enhance your experience? Would it mean, even for a non-psychic person, would that person actually have a psychic
Different
moment?
angle to ask these to that question is his experience that he just described, is that what happens to you two all the time? and he was just privy to that for whatever reason that day. I mean, I guess describe what happens to you guys. Is it just like that?
And how do you shut it down, more important?
Okay, you guys have a question too. Go ahead and answer, and then you have a question.
Yeah, I mean, so because I started later, and one of the things that I learned in the class was, when you want to engage your guides, that's what you do. You start it, you go, you talk to them, and then you back out, and you're done. And even though it wasn't taught as a switch on and off, I just kind of adapted it into the mediumship. So because I've been to the grocery stores, I've been out in public places, and you get overwhelmed. And what I ended up realizing was that it hit me that why don't I attempt to envision a light switch, that this is where the abilities are. So if I really don't want to do that, I'll turn it off. And a really, really fast story of proof of that is, my wife and I, you guys all know Stranahan Theater, so we usually get season tickets, to go see the shows throughout the season. So this one time my wife drives. So I'm in the passenger seat, and I live in Perrysburg, so we come up over the bridge. There's the Fort Meade Cemetery off to the right. We're at the light. And my dummy, in my mind's eye, I looked over at the cemetery because it was on the passenger side. I said, gee, I wonder if there's any spirits there. And it was that fast, and I saw everything just light up. I saw spirits walking all over the place, and I went, holy blank. But I didn't say it out loud, and I'm looking, and finally, a couple of them look at me. And then they start walking towards the car. And I'm going, I'm looking up, I look at the traffic light, I look back over, they're getting closer. I'm going, finally, when that light turned green, I yelled at my wife, I'm like, just go! I'm like, what? I just drive. And so she goes through and she's, what? And hold on, just keep going. And finally, I'm like looking back within the mirrors, and that was it. And I went, well, and she goes, what? And I get, well, I just proved something to myself that you can truly turn the stuff on and off.
So would you just try by go, talk to the hand?
Essentially, yeah. But that was a perfect example that if I don't want to do this, it's off. So if I go somewhere out in public, I've got that vision of I'm off.
And you could do the same thing?
Now I can. I was taught how to do it through my friend Jody, and learning about my guides. Like what 10-year-olds like, oh my God, I got guides. But I just learned how to do that a few years ago, where I use 2 of my guides that bring in spirit. They make it like a single file line, so I'm not getting 20 at one time when I'm trying to do a reading for someone. And when I'm done, I thank them and tell my gatekeeper to knock it out. I'm good.
So you have like a closing or a closure, so to speak. Is that like a ritual that you do every time, or is it like different?
You kind of know when you don't do it.
Yeah.
So
what happens when there's somebody out there? Everybody's watched the movie The Sixth Sense, and I don't want to make light of this, although it was a pretty good Bruce Willis movie.
No, but that's a question I've had. Is that kind of how it is? Like,
well, more importantly, Jeff,
do you see them like they're in the room here?
Yeah, and the other thing is,
Physically see them.
what happens if they haven't shut off, and there's like a very persistent, like I believe Henry from the Henry House was a very persistent spirit. It didn't matter if I wanted to see him or not. Obviously he was in control. So you're going about your business, you're spending the afternoon with your wife and your children, and you're enjoying the day, and there's somebody out there that needs to be heard or needs some help. Do they just keep knocking?
So even though I use the on-off switch method, there are still times that the empathic side still comes out. So the empathic side at least lets you know that there's something strange. The energy feels weird. So it's not crystal clear. So you kind of have imagine the old TVs where it had the scratchy screen, where it didn't have a signal. So it's kind of like that. You kind of have this weird foggy kind of mix, but something's there in that image. All you need to do is just fine tune it to bring it in, if you so want to. But that's what sometimes I'll do is if I go into a location, I see if the sensitive side comes out, and if it feels like there's something there, then I kind of say, okay, let's turn the switch on and make this picture a little bit more clear, and then they show up.
So is it like
sometimes I don't get anything but from the waist down, I'll see somebody holding a tray of cookies and what they're wearing, but I won't see a face.
So what's that mean? I don't want to downplay what you're saying, but I'm sure everybody's interested. We'll get right to that question. What does that mean? In your mind's eye, if I see a guy with a tray of cookies, I'll think there's lunch.
But it's also the feeling you get it from the empathetic side. You don't have to see your face or you, but if I hear you on the phone, your energy is coming to me as in
Perfect
I
description.
get it.
Perfect
I don't
description.
need to see your face to describe your energy to someone.
Perfect. We have a
We have
question
two
for Adam.
questions. They're both
Let's take both of them.
they're both for Adam and Carmen.
Perfect, yeah, ask.
Tala wants to know, how do you set your boundaries with the spirit world while you're investigating?
Go ahead, guys.
You want to go first?
Okay, so when you're investigating, it's kind of like when you're doing anything else. My boundaries are my boundaries, whether I'm investigating or I'm home, especially when I'm home. I think that's more important. But I don't like to be touched. So that's just my own personal thing. I don't like.
Dan has told us that.
I've heard her say that. When somebody will say, well, come up and touch one of us, Carmen always says, you don't have permission to touch me.
Yeah, or take my energy. That's
Yeah.
not one of my things either, because that's mine. But it's just clearly stating your boundaries, just like you would with people.
And do they all respect that?
Sometimes they need a gentle reminder, but
I mean, do you have to ever get nasty?
no, there's no reason to get nasty. Just like I don't get nasty. to
So
people.
most of them are respectful to your demands, so to speak.
Yeah, if you know how to trust your guides, trust yourself, you don't really have, I mean, because it's like anything else. If you don't believe what you're doing, then they're going to sense that too.
So let's say you're at an investigation and you come across, say, a bully spirit or a nastier entity. Do you take care of that, or do your guides do that for you? I mean, like, because I can imagine they're not going to respect your boundaries.
Well, it's kind of like,
So do your guides take care of it for you? Are they kind of the enforcers? Are they your
Okay,
backup?
this is a question, or kind of a rebound question. Is that why Harold and Butch have had greater negative reactions to spirits when they open up, because they don't have boundaries set up?
well, I have boundaries. Let's not make any mistakes on it. I have boundaries. They're a little broader than that. Go ahead and ask that same question to Adam again. I think Carmen gave a great answer. I'm very intrigued. Could you ask that question again?
How do you set your boundaries with the spirit world while you're investigating? And then we'll have another question after that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so when I took the Shamanic Journeys class, I mean, there was a big section on protection, big thing, and it's Native American based. And so that's always on my mind 24/7, 365. So I always rely on that. I always have that feeling and that notion that I'm always protected, no matter if I'm in a weakened state, but I always know it's right there. So, when I do go to an investigation or something like that, yes, when you open up, yeah, you're subjected to a lot of things. And I've had, them, I'm a little bit more open as far as, they can touch me and things like that in the correct way. If they're going to poke me or, grab my shoulder. I mean, because I get that a lot at my, I shouldn't say mine, but the location that we host investigations at all the time. But there's one spirit that she grabs my arm all the time. It's always in the same place, and it always feels exactly the same way. So I'm okay with some of that. But a lot of times, like in a home or residential, I kind of play it out. I feel what the energy's like, and then I kind of judge it from there. Like if we talk to, about the Maxwell house, I mean, some of that, there was times where I knew I had to kind of be a little bit more, macho man kind of thing. But then there's other times where, I can let down a little bit, especially if I know that the spirit, is peaceful, or they're not out there to harm anything, or they just want to get their message out to us.
You know what I think is really amazing? You both had totally different answers to that question. There's dozens of ways to get to Cleveland. I guess the thing is, we're trying to get to Cleveland. Before we're going to go right back to that question. You both have said things, and you've mentioned Native American several times. Questions I have for you all the time. Are you Christian based? Are you Native American based? These teachings, and I don't want to downplay this, but what you guys do is a great gift. But it's like anything else. I've worked very, very hard on my paranormal investigation skills. When I get touched, when something like that happens to me, I get angry because I'm so busy. I shouldn't say I use F-bombs, but I kind of use F-bombs. Like, get the hell away from me. I'm like busy. I'm going to hit you with this camera. There's nobody there, but I'm hoping that they hear me. I usually get away with it. But I think protection and opening prayers and closing prayers are important. Your belief system and these, and personally, my master guide's name is Luke. and I have a bunch of spiritual guides that come and go as I need it. Did you base your teachings in all the years of your practice? Is it Christian based? Is it Native American based? Is it just Carmen based?
It's a blend of things.
And why do you find that that's important to you?
To me, because, well, I like the Native American stuff because that's part of who I am. I like the spiritualism aspects of it because they have a lot of set rules that people have laid out as an actual class and instruction and books and stuff that help rather than word of mouth instruction.
Sure.
Catholic, I was raised Catholic, so, you know, that's how I personally start my protection for myself. I say the Lord's Prayer. And when I
Our Father.
yeah, and when I go into doing a reading, that's how I start to open up. I'll do that, then I'll address my guides. Same thing when I'm done. It just bits and pieces of all kinds of stuff that I learn. And I learn stuff every day, and I try to incorporate it if I think it's going to help.
It's really interesting. How about you? The same question.
Very similar. I do not have Native American in me, but
Why do you keep referring to it?
I feel that in a past life there was, without a shadow of a doubt. I've already done one past life regression, and a Native American came out through there. So we know at least so far one in my past. But yeah, I mean, I've done the DNA, so I know for a fact I don't have the actual blood
Sure.
in me. But I've always felt connected. I remember, you know, growing up as a kid, you know, you watch the old cowboys and Indian movies, and I was always rooting for the Indians every single time because I just always felt connected to them. Even
That's,
though
now that's odd.
Yeah.
But you know what? That means everything that you said there.
yeah, and
It's
so
like
like
someone growing up in the city and loving country music. You feel drawn to certain things and you
Well,
go with it.
well, my next question then, and I don't want to get into this whole religious thing, but for you, are they evenly balanced, or is one more powerful? Like for me, Carmen and Adam, if I do feel like I'm in trouble, you know, obviously I was an altar boy. My mom was very much a devout Catholic. I didn't have a choice. I graduated from catechism when I graduated from high school as well. So I reach out and say the St. Michael prayer. Mine's definitely Christian based. And I feel, I mean, I carry a crucifix with me wherever I go. I feel I turn to God, my God, you know, Jesus. That's just personally works for me. And the prayer of St. Michael is very powerful to me. He is the defender, the protector in my Christian world, and that works for me. You want to hear a funny thing? I was at a powwow. I used to go to powwows all the time. I stood in line, and this shows not about me. I got my Native American name. You guys will never believe what it is.
Talk too much.
No. It wasn't like great. No, listenino.
No way.
Yeah, listenino. Wow, it's a great listener. So I mean, from that moment on, I stuck to my Christian faith beliefs. So, and what a great show. Let's get that second question.
Excuse me.
If this is the first night I've shut up, I'm like so interested in what they got to say.
What point did you know you were certain you were a medium?
Great question. Who's going first?
I'll go. For me, it was because, again, and I'm only going because I'm late. I was later. It wasn't so because I was already talking to my own guides and things like that. I was like, well, that's really cool and stuff. And then when I started working with other mediums, and we started doing things, and when we'd go on an investigation together, you know, they'd stand next to me and be like, okay, what are you getting? And, you know, I'm timid because, you know, you feel like if you're going to say something, it's wrong, but what you get is what you get, you know, and it took me a long time to understand that.
Sure.
But when I would say it, and then they just kind of give me a smile being like, yeah, you're on, you know. And so after the first investigation was in 2012, by working for 2 more years, so in 2014, as I always like to joke with people, is I came out of the mediumship closet at that point where I felt comfortable enough to tell people that what I'm getting is being validated, you know, whether it was in a reading or an investigation. So if I went in cold and they said these were the things that the people were dealing with, or this is who died, or this is, you know, what they're seeing, it's hard to just disprove that at that point. So knowing that my stuff was being validated, that's when I knew in 2014 that I was on the right track.
Well, and let's bounce this this way. You and I, first of all, you know I adore you. But there's times where, you know, Adam, as I know him, is a little more outgoing, where you, I think, are more on the shy side. what he said is something else I think is important for everybody to know. Sometimes you're not comfortable inside. So my question to you is, the fear of being wrong, is that greater than sharing what you find true to your heart? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense. I don't think it's so much the fear of being wrong, it's the fear of being wrong around the people I'm with at the moment. Because when you learn how to do mediumship, it doesn't matter what it makes sense to you or not. It's you give what you get. And if they don't get it, then don't make them take it. If they don't want to take it, just keep going.
But does it probably, people, I would imagine, can probably make life-altering decisions based on something a psychic or medium tells them.
Sure, yeah.
So you better be right. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably where your anxiety from that comes from.
So at what point in time did you find the confidence to know that this is what it is? You've been through this several hundred times. This is what you're getting. And whether the fear of being wrong no longer matters. It doesn't play a part of what you're about to share with us. But when did that come? When did that confidence level come?
I think about 3 years ago, maybe, when I went to Chesterfield, Indiana for the first time. They have it's a spiritual college, and they teach you how to do presentation of mediumship. They teach you how to do these things. And I did an after hours with one of the teachers there where she works on your mediumship and how you present it. And so you don't overthink things. She teaches you how to, there's so many great teachers there that have taught me things. And my friend Jody, I see her every week. She has been huge in helping me get the confidence to tell people. Like, I still don't advertise for it at work, but
I know, and we're always having this thing. What I find, people that do what you two do and that can offer this gift and this ability that you guys have, the respect that's given. I've often, to which I speak of down there, this goes back 30 years ago, was a parapsychologist, and how much respect I had for him. And a lot of people didn't like him because he was just cut and dry, but he's one of the best teachers I've ever seen. It's funny, well, not funny, but it's kind of cool, the respect that you both have for your mentors. It's like a sensei, so to speak. Without them, did you think that you'd be where you're at? I mean, did either one of you ever think that this is going to take you into paranormal investigations? At any time, did you think that this is where, and is this it? I mean, is this where you want to be, or is this another stepping stone to your calling, to this gift that you have? I mean, where do you find yourself at in 10 years?
I don't know. It's right now.
Here's another question that's kind of similar to that.
Let him answer that one.
Okay.
I doing what I do and being able to give those messages to the people if you're doing a reading, or being able to prove that the people that are dealing with some type of haunting in their home, and that they then don't feel like they're being looked at as crazy or insane. When you can show that and then help them out, get rid of the things, and then they're able to live a normal life, a peaceful life, where they don't feel scared in their home, they can sleep comfortably. That's what I look for. That's my high. That there's no amount of money in the world that for me that I could be given to restore that kind of peace to these people, or share that message from their loved one that they lost. There's just nothing that compares to that. That is such a natural high for me. It's a weird way to put it, but it just feels right. And it feels like that's what I'm doing. So to continue to do this, if there's other places if other doors open up to other things, great. If they don't, if I'm still doing what I'm doing now in 10 years, I'm all still going to be doing it.
You know what I find is amazing, like listening to both of you, and I didn't keep track here, and I don't think there's a winner or loser, but the amount of times that you both use the word help, I find is just incredible. Everything that we've talked about from the beginning of the show, I've heard you say the word help no less than 20 times, and you 20 times. Is that what this is all about? Be it fearful, be it afraid that the possibility of being wrong, of calling the case wrong, of saying it's a spirit that maybe not, all these fears and all these anxieties that we have with this gift. If we're true to heart, isn't this all about helping people? How can we be wrong then? Dan, Butch, Jeff, and I, as paranormal investigators, not one day do I ever feel that we're ever wrong with what we do. And this is an interesting show, and I want to kind of move off because I want to hear a story from Jeff as well.
Well, can I ask a question first that's related?
And we have a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'm going to fire them.
Okay, since you guys have the abilities that you do, what are you trying to accomplish as a paranormal investigator? Why be on a team? Why be on toes or why be on sweeping? Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point? Why do that?
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Because you really, I mean, I think you and I are trying to prove almost what they already intuitively know. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
So why would they be?
I want you to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I want you. That's a great lead-in. You're going to share something with us.
Okay.
Let go ahead. And then you guys got more questions.
I think the perfect, and this, I've said this for a number of years because it just finally, and it's going to sound weird. And I don't think I told you this, but how I look at it, it's another tool in the bag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, whether, and I have no problem with people that have to use the equipment. I love the equipment too. As I said earlier, when I get tired or I've done all that I can get, my gear comes out and then I'm having fun. I'm asking questions just like you guys do, or holding the camera or something like that. I love that stuff. So it's fun to be able to kind of jump around. But I look at it, it is a tool because, you know, there's been investigations where the gear's not showing anything, nothing's going on. So you use the gifts to see if there's something that you can help this family out. You know, I mean, how many times we've all been there where, you know, you get this weird feeling here, but the equipment's not backing it up, or EMF's not hitting, or you're not hearing the voices or things like that, even if you go back multiple times.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of having that mediumship there, you know, because if it proves something and helps out, again, there's help. If it helps the end result.
Right. I think that's what this is all about. I think that's what we're trying to say. Let's see if Carmen can answer one. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have, when you go in on an investigation, you know it's a negative entity. What kind of mindset do you have going in?
Go for coffee. I'm sorry, Carmen.
I usually don't label things as negative. Misunderstood it a lot. I have a lot of people in my life that could be labeled as negative too, and they're just misunderstood. They're, you know, it's like family members.
Kind of like me. Like I'm a good guy, just misunderstood, right?
Right. Or like if my husband works swing shifts, 12-hour swing shifts. If I were to wake him up after he gets off on night shift at 7 o'clock in the morning, he's not going to be the friendliest either. It's the same thing with spirits. There's never, I don't know. Personally, I don't truly believe in demonic. That's just something myself that I don't believe in. But there has been really nasty spirits that can like to make you think that's what they are, just for the fact that they know that's going to scare you, that that's what you're going to label it as, and then nobody's going to want to come around.
Well, that's what you picked up on at the bear house, was that you said the spirit that was there, the grumpy one, the mean one,
Yeah.
was purposely acting as if it was demonic to scare the crap out of him.
Sure, boys.
Yeah.
Big
Do
time.
you feel the same way? You feel the same way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, we all know the different types of hauntings and things like that. And, you know, sometimes, you know, sometimes a team will leak a little bit like, oh, this is going to be a bad one. It's like,
Have you ever walked into a place and went, holy shit, we're in for it?
you could, well, yeah, when you walk in, you know, I'm not going to plug it, but, you know, I did a show for Paranormal Survivor, like you guys did, and that was the
A
same.
lovely show, by the way.
Right, absolutely. But that was the same thing, you know, the energy through that. Now, you know, spoiler was that, you know, I didn't actually walk into that house. I still to this day have not actually physically walked in. I did all my work through remote viewing because of the fact of my schedule. But I was there 3 times, which they didn't get to show that part.
Yeah.
But they obviously can't.
There's a couple of things they leave out in that. For anybody's listening, Paranormal Survivor does leave out, you know, little tidbits here and there. You know, a pretty important information.
And, but that was the whole thing, was that even when in remote viewing, so I call it like I'm spiritual then.
Sure.
I'm a ghost like they are. You know?
Gotcha. That makes
And
sense.
so even when you do that, I can feel that energy as if I'm stepping into the house for the very first time. And I knew it was bad. I knew this guy was, you know, just had his thing going. And so.
Did you feel threatened?
Not for me, because again, I relied on that protection that I like started off with. So I knew that there was no way. And like the one thing that they showed, you know, which they showed us, you know, fighting, which was not him fighting me, it was me fighting him. That was the first time I ever.
Well, I did an exorcist, so that's nothing.
Right.
That's nothing on me.
Yeah.
I did an exorcist.
Yeah. But I did, but in that final time I was there, I mean, I grabbed him and threw him against the wall. And we knocked, that's the one thing I wanted them to show, was we actually physically knocked over boxes. And the family heard it from upstairs.
That's
Because
so strange.
Because then I wrote them, I said,
Yeah.
by the way, if you heard noise in the basement, that was me. They was like, yeah, we were wondering what was going on down there. I said, yeah, we knocked over boxes. And they went down there and found the boxes that were knocked over.
So in this scenario, you actually, so you're not at the location, you're sitting there.
Obviously, you didn't watch the show, did you?
I didn't get to, I'm sorry. But does your, I guess, your spirit physically travel to the place, and you, like you're saying, you physically fought with the entity that was there?
In a spiritual form? Yeah. So, yeah, it is a whole, and that was something that was.
Is that like astroplaning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say remote viewing, that's how it was taught to me. Astral projection is, and I say it on the show, when you actually compare the definitions, they are so close. So it's really just minor details that are different, but essentially you're doing the same thing. So you're really just taking a piece of you, a spiritual side of you, you're going to a location and checking things out, and then you come back. Now, I've done it to where I can kind of go back and forth real quick, but the energy that I know, that's why I need written permission, because what that does is that's the light bulb that goes on the house. So when I go there, because I don't have to know where they are or anything, I do cut it down. I cut a corner, or I cheat a little where I say, just tell me the city and the street name, but don't give me your house number. Because then what that does is when I start floating down the street, because
Oh, you can be called to.
the light is quicker.
Like the old game, warmer,
Yes,
hot,
yes.
hot. Yeah.
But I do that, but that's on purpose because I want to hurry up, because I give myself a 15, 20-minute window per remote session, because I don't want to inconvenience them. And I've got to probably work on another case after that. So I'm quick. So I learned where to do it. But if somebody says, I'm here, okay, I'll find you. But you know, so yeah.
I think that's a great explanation there for you. Same as for Adam. Have you ever went into an investigation where, and I don't want to make light of this, but you walk in the front door and you got all of us guys hauling gear on you, and you just so, holy shit, these guys don't have a clue what we're up against. Has that ever happened?
No, because I think before I even go in anywhere, I raise my vibration up enough to not allow anything negative to even come near me. That's why like there's a big thing with like all the ghost shows that I watch. There's a lot of the ghost people that their vibration's way down here, so they're getting all these negative things that are like
So you
attract
think
light.
you're attracting them?
Yeah, it's
Well, I think
law of
Zach
attraction.
does, I mean, his whole show, Ghost Adventures, is dark.
Mhm.
It's all dark all the time now.
And what you just said, you know, like obviously you don't have a ton of respect for Zach, you know, or I'm sorry, not that, those type of investigators. In general, and I want to ask you the same thing after Carmen. Do you respect what we do as paranormal investigators and documents?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is bigger than what you think. A lot of groups still out there, and I don't want to say it's disrespect psychic mediums. They don't use them in what they're doing because maybe they don't believe everything they're saying. Maybe it's just a hunch, or they're going on their feelings. But in turn, I mean, do you feel the same way about paranormal investigators? My God, they're running an EVP session for the 5th time. Joey's up on the 2nd floor. These guys are in the cellar.
I almost feel like
I don't want to work with you guys
I
anymore.
almost feel like we're hand turning screws and these two are impact guns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
So, you know, how do you answer that? I mean, this whole respect thing amongst us, because let's face it, guys. I mean, with what's going on in the world now, and in my humble opinion, things are getting darker and a little lower in energy, downright scary sometimes. I mean, maybe it's time that this whole taboo thing, and maybe it truly is, and I see other groups doing it, that we need each other. I mean, you need what we do. And now in turn, Carmen, we've been working here for 6 years. We've pounded our heads into the ground here. We're exhausted. And we'll talk about this. And okay, Carmen, help us. And we've been in investigations where I come to you and say, we're outside blowing smoke or something. Okay, Carmen, I know I tell you I don't want to know anything you feel. You got to help me here. So it's a respect thing. Do you think that this is the way it should be? So here's where we bring psychic mediums and sensitives and beacons and lighthouses, whatever. I want to be respectful to everything. That we bring ourselves together and work side by side, hand in hand. So how can we make this happen? And how can we still solve, the great mystery or solve a case with both of our attentions? We're all using the word help to help a client that is scared. It's got children that are scared, and a family that is scared, and they just want this thing's gone. Do you believe that you and I together, hand in hand, a documentary mentor and a couple of psychic mediums go into this home? How can we do this together? What do we have to do to make this happen? For Harold to go have a cup of coffee and shut his mouth?
I think a good formula maybe would be to say, my opinion, have your sensitives not come in guns blazing, talking and telling people what's up. Just keep it to yourself for a little bit, but then maybe halfway through the investigation, tell us everything,
And let's be honest with each other. I mean, we have Carmen, I don't want to say at our disposal, but with us at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been times over at Maxwell where, she's done the opening prayers, the closing prayers, she's watched over us, and I know she's watching over us.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm maybe even a little bit braver when I know people like Carmen are, on the second floor or something, because I know if something happens, whether she's mad at me or not, she's not going to let me die. If she, spiritually, she can say, well, there's been a couple of cases where it might be close. But Dan will make sure she takes care of me. But here's the thing. Why do we wait till we're totally exhausted? And we've fried all of our avenues. We're just exhausted before we reach out. And this is where we're going to bring in the Maxwell.
It's because you're a documentary, Harold.
That's what I said, we're turning screws and they're the impact.
But here's the thing, Jeff.
I think
Jeff, take us in and let's open this. And I want to hear from you as well. You two are over there kind of being quiet. I want to bring you into this thing. So we all have to work as a group if we don't want to, or whether we want to or not. Let's take the Maxwell house, because it's one of the more recent ones that's been ongoing. And I got a couple of questions. I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider you to be overly psychic or overly sensitive, but you're always barking here and there. So tell us about this. And you guys can tell us more where Jeff is. Jeff sometimes will walk into a place and he'll come up to me and he'll say, I just don't feel right about this. And Butch does the same thing. Or there was a time in Maxwell, and if I'm not trying to put you down because it happened to me as well.
No, I was scared to death.
Where you went in that house, and now that had to be something psychic, because the documenter doesn't feel that way because he's busy. Jeff come right back out of the house and said, "Oh my God, I'm scared to death. I'm not going into the attic." But he just spent the whole day in the attic off, and I didn't understand. Besides, I'm asking him.
You just answered your own question.
But I wanted him to tell us what he was feeling.
There was a really profound moment in there. This was an hour, one of the nights, where I do think that I'm sensitive, but it's not that I've chosen not to pursue it. I just haven't. I don't know why. It really interests me, especially that you can go travel to But the one night for an hour, like one of the most profound, and I feel like I'm not saying this, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this on
But we want you to.
Okay. But I can't prove it with your documentation or mine. There's no way to prove this, but I guarantee you there was a woman in that house for an hour that was trying to get me to find her, because she wanted to tell me, and she did tell me, and I feel that she crossed over that night, that she had been killed and the guy got away with it. Now, I don't know if it was the guy
You
that
shared that with us. You told me about that.
did I tell you about? Okay, I didn't know because it's kind of like, I feel like that's a crazy story, but like, you just know with everything in you, but I can't prove it, but that woman was there.
You just said
And
something.
she was telling me.
You just know it.
Yeah,
And maybe
exactly.
that's what this is about. You just know it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's the personal, but see, the thing is, I would never then go to the client and tell them that story.
Do you
Because
think,
I don't feel that that's evidence pertaining to their
do
harm.
you think the night that you were scared to death, do you think that was a psychic moment as well? Do you think there had to be something that was making you fearful? If you're a documenter and you're going to change the batteries in a recorder, why would you have given a shit?
But
So something happened.
right, but see, and there's, one of the questions I've had, was it something bad that scared me, or was it my my spirit guide saying, don't go up there today.
Or was it that you were tired after being at that house for 72 hours?
That could have played a factor.
Your documenter side was exhausted,
Mhm.
which leads you to open up spiritually.
But, yeah, okay.
And I
So
can
the
say
second-
that he came home and slept for like 3 hours, solid sleep. And then when he went back is when he had all the craziness happen to him.
Yeah, because I went in then that night because I think that was the night you slept out in your truck that for a couple hours. You didn't sleep out in your truck the whole night, but you had to get out of there for a while. And basically I had the house to myself again that night. And that's
Well, my
one
question-
day I'll put this video out. Okay,
You're still not answering the question. Was that a psychic moment?
That's what I personally feel that it probably was, but like I said, I've just never pursued it. I think if I were to pursue things, I think I think I have the ability, maybe not as much as these two, but I think I have the
So let me take this one step further then.
pretty sensitive.
If this happens and you were fearful that night, we believe that it could have been you were exhausted, your spiritual sight opened up, you were fearful. Do you think that that's going to hinder your being a documenter in the future? If you do pursue this spiritual side,
No, I
is it
don't.
going to hinder you?
I don't think so because I would think, I guess, one thing I would always want to do is document it to prove to other people that I'm not
You
crazy.
can't document it if you won't go in the attic because you're too afraid.
Well, but that same time period, the REM pod was going off like crazy, and that's something that everybody here can visually see on camera is the REM pod is going off. You know, yeah, they can't see me scared to go in the attic, but there is proof that something is going on there. You know,
So I guess the thing I'm going to.
I don't know that I could document going up into the attic.
So one thing for sure,
Not
people
going.
like you and I and Butch and Dan, we're gonna have to get over a measure of fear and conquer our fear if we're gonna open up to the spiritual world that they have. As documenters, we have great fear ourselves, and when things like that happen, and Dan's not on the show tonight, but come on, Dan was pushed down the stairs too, and Dan laced that ghost with profanity. And I want to see those. So we have not only just fear, but we have anger. We have all these emotions.
It was a
When-
profane
And
drive-by.
Butch as well, I can tell you,
Yeah.
Butch said, I'm leaving this tunnel, I'm gonna leave you up here in the woods to die, and I don't give a shit what happens to you. And so we've all had these experiences, but with documenters, the fear is greater. Does it make
Right.
sense?
How do
They-
you know?
They
I
just,
was pretty fearful.
because, well, I'm just saying, you guys seem psychics seem to be much braver than documenters in my humble world when the shit really kind of hits the fan.
That's because we are the ones that are learning more about and really focusing on our protection and what to do and what to help, how to help others and how to help ourselves in the situation. As a documenter, you go in there with your equipment, not thinking that you're going to be open to anything. And when it happens, it's scary.
Do you think that maybe because you have your master guide and your spiritual guides, and you came with the paranormal gang, so to speak, you know, like the Crips and the Bloods, so to speak?
Well, let me ask you, I mean, pertaining to what we were just talking about, so who do you two think kept me from going in the attic that night because I was so afraid? Do you think it was spirit guides, or do you think it was something bad that was up there?
Or something, or
that I-
just
that I
yourself,
picked up on?
or just yourself.
Yeah, or was I
just
just scared?
Well, yeah, well, let them answer Jeff, and then let them answer you. So this is great. His fear, our fear, kept us from documenting and not really understanding that if we had with Adam and Carmen practice, I would have St. Michael with me. I would have Luke, my master guide. I would have my spirit guides. And listen, I'm going up in that air because I'm coming up there with 7 people. And listen, St. Michael's going to kick your ass, every day of the week.
But see, we know our guides' names. Everybody has their guides, but they don't have to know their names, but they're with you at all the time. So like, if you're going.
Does that make you less fearful then?
Yeah, it does, especially if you acknowledge it, because it's like, if you're driving down a road and you're gonna take this route and something tells you, no, don't go that way, just keep going. That's your guide telling you that, that's your gut.
So you would have went up those attic stairs knowing that you were going up with a handful of people.
Yeah, I never travel alone.
Well, maybe that's
Maybe-
why I was so afraid, because I'm
You were
not
alone.
aware of my guides.
But
And I
you weren't-
felt I was by
Right, and you've already said, I was in that home alone.
Yeah.
At no time did you say I was there with
Right.
Luke and
because I
Jesse
definitely
and
never
Joe and
would
my
have.
master guide.
I just don't.
Okay.
Yep.
But how do you deal with that, Butch? I mean, there's had to be, you're one of the bravest investigators I've ever worked with. And I've said that to everybody
I was
1,000
rocking
times.
a bolt in the basement for crying
He's-
out loud.
And the old joke is when things get I mean, demonic in our world is very rare. I don't even want to get into that. But there is a lot of bullies and dark energies, which we've encountered hundreds of them over the years, especially when we were younger and we were just, out running and gunning. We both had 6-shooters and spitting into the wind.
That's like down in Athens that time when I was in the Ridges. I got shut down. I mean, I went down and I thought it was somebody that was with me. I turned around, there's nobody there. So I tried to go after, find out who did it, and still couldn't find nobody.
Was there ever a time, like with Jeff, though, that I know you got up there and you faced it, and you're like me, or like Dan, you cussed him. Was there ever a time, and you got to be honest here, that the fear was so great, it became hard to breathe, and you just didn't want to go into that next step? Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was a Moonville tunnel. That one time we were down there, it just was that one spot. And later on, after we went back again and had that video, is where that apparition came up.
See,
that's the same spot.
Yeah. That night, I wasn't sure if you were having a psychic moment or an awakening, because I didn't know what was making me so fearful. I wasn't seeing or hearing the same things he was. I was too busy documenting, and then lo and behold, the next day, it looked like somebody walked down the wall. So everything he said that night, everything you felt, that was a psychic moment. And all these years later, I think you and I can admit that some of these things must have been psychic moments or awakenings. It had to be.
Yeah, because Uncle Jeff, I said, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I says, there's something right there, and I got to go.
And I got one more question for both of you, and then we'll turn it over to the audience again. Do you believe that these now see, I'm calling them the gang, Carmen's gang and Anna's gang, and I want my own gang. I'm looking for my own gang here. Do you think that you're more protected? Do you think that you're safe in any investigation, no matter how dark or light or even demonic? Do you think that you are protected? That you think at all times? Do you think that a paranormal investigator like myself is? Exactly. So it comes down to the belief. What about you?
I will say that majority of the time I do, and there's been a couple times that I've been tested, which is odd because most of the time I feel like, again, I said earlier, I'm like, the big macho guy kind of walking in. That's just the energy I give off. So that
Yeah,
way,
you said that at Maxwell, that like you're pretty much not scared of anything.
yeah.
There's nothing in this house that I can't do.
Right. And there was one time at a location that I knew what it was. I could tell how strong it was. I knew it was capable of doing things. And, I'm trying to reason with it like I always do, same thing. And I start getting this headache, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And it got to the point where it felt like my head was going to literally be crushed in. And it was the very first time ever that I had to actually step out. And the crazy thing was that I stepped out, and it took me 45 minutes to finally get that pressure gone. And I was standing outside in 40-degree weather, and I always wore short sleeve shirts. I didn't even feel what the temperature was. So I was still with it, but it took me so long to finally get back. But it taught me something important, that if you are dealing with something pretty serious like I did, I understand the signs better. And I think up to that point, I thought I knew everything, and then I didn't. So that's why it was like one of those moments that you have to learn. So there's going to be moments where you're going to be tested, and when you get tested, then you have to change it. It's just like, if there's a different way to do an EVP section, you're going to try it because, hey, if it gets me results, great. So yeah, I keep adapting my things, but, for the most part, I feel like we're pretty good.
Great information. If there's one thing that you can say to our fans and followers, working with a paranormal group now and being sensitive, and all the young people that follow us, we have a lot of young followers now that are looking for their path, which way they want to go, be it either documenter, paranormal investigator, or psychic, and all these reasons to help people. What would be the one thing? Because someday you're going to be a mentor, probably. You couldn't be who you are today without a mentor, and you keep practicing. People are going to be coming into your shop, and especially you're helping some of our clients to this day. What is the one thing that you can offer to our followers about the things you do, and if to not be fearful, to get to know your guys? What would you tell somebody today?
I think the biggest thing would be that you have to know yourself you have to go within yourself before you're capable of helping anybody else. And I always tell my clients that come in for healings or energy work that I'm not doing anything for them. I'm holding that space and allowing them to work. They think it's me that's doing it, but I'm not. I'm allowing them to be open with themselves and heal themselves or feel what they need to feel and get it out and release it. I'm just the middleman.
But personally, you've pointed out things though, like work on this or look at this, or, so I mean, you do have a role in that. It's not just them coming to your shop and doing it themselves. You absolutely have a role in
Yeah, for someone who's never had any sort of reading or any energy work or anything, but they're trying it with me for the first time, I absolutely walk them through it. I'll tell them, this is what we're going to do. And I don't ever say me. I said, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And I'll tell them how to do it, and I'll do it with them. And I always tell them, you're doing this for yourself, but at the same time, while I'm helping you do it, it's also working for me too. We're getting better together, and I think a lot of people don't understand that they're capable of all of this stuff, that
Well said.
nobody
Yes,
should
that's
be
very
able
well
to do
said.
it for anyone.
How about you? I mean, what she just said is awesome.
I mean, it's hard to because you said one.
First of
thing.
all, it's hard to top that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, I totally back that. And I guess that my next thing would be is just to be open, because there's so many things that we don't truly know. Again, you've been asking all these great questions, and it's as long as you're being open to it. It doesn't mean you have to be 100% believer in us, but just be open enough to listen. Because if you're going to tell me about what you're doing and all this stuff, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to be completely willing to listen to everything you have to say. I'm not going to be sitting
See,
here.
that's better than anybody else in my group.
But that, I want to do that, because I think that's the I feel is important, because if you're open to it, again, you don't have to believe it 100%, but at least give that space to somebody and let them talk, and you never know what you might discover of yourself then, being open. You might learn things. You might be shown messages. Maybe you don't understand them, but they might pop in there then. So as long as you're open to the possibility that there's other things that we still don't know 100% about, it might better your life and those around you then.
And for the record, I believe in you guys both 100%. I just don't, my
You're
mind
just saying
doesn't.
that on camera.
No,
She's
I'm
a camera
serious.
girl, we know.
I just don't, I guess I call myself a skeptic somewhat, even though if I believe in you, I guess I'm not really skeptical. It's more of I don't understand how it works because I can't make it work personally. So that's where the skepticism, I guess.
You are the closest one that works with us. I said, it's going to show you're on the fence.
Yeah, I think I could go either way with that.
You've always been flexible that way. We're not going to be, we can only go another 5 minutes. I think what you're both saying is, which I think is key, because these are things that we can both say as paranormal investigators and psychic. You got to do the work. You got to be true to yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, I would never go into some place so I would never go into some place and start spouting stuff off that I'm feeling or hearing, or this is this person, unless I truly believed in myself and I studied and I practiced what I preached and I did all of this work behind the scenes before that 5-minute walkthrough. I would never open my mouth if I didn't follow the steps to present it.
You know what I love most about you, and I've told the same thing to Adam. Something about Adam's energy draws me to him, and I never leave an investigation without giving you a hug because I need to feel that energy from you. It's how caring you both are. I mean, I always say, and Butch is one of the most caring people, and Jeff and Dan are as well, about our clients' well-being and with how much work we put into trying to get to the end result of what we're looking for. I think together, maybe we can help each other do this. But I think the key to it is how caring you people are. You just care about people, and I think that could be the energy level where it starts with a little bit that I know. I want to come back, and we're going to have to make a promise because Jeff and Butch and I, we got to get Dan in here. This was a great show. You guys were very informative. But you know how controversial I like to be. I would like to come back sometime, maybe in February if we can, right back here to this baseball. We'll drop us back with us, and maybe Bigfoot and Sully will always be there. And maybe And Jeff is very interested in doing this unless he turns on us and he's no longer running cameras. He's doing psychic mediumship work on him. We could change things a little bit. Right. But I want to take us into an investigation, and I want us to talk about as a whole, how we can help each other and in what ways it could hinder what we're trying to do. And then we'll talk about the Maxwell at that time and how exhausted we were and how you come in and how Carmen was feeding us the last few weeks, which inspired me. And Jeff and I and Butch had talked about it. We didn't really say a whole lot to Dan because Carmen is Dan's wife. We knew, but Butch and Jeff and I knew that we needed something more than what we were doing. We felt that we'd hit the wall. We've captured and documented everything we possibly could. But there was something more there, and our client needed more help. And but we didn't want to burden you because you were within our group. You've been through it all with us. And our friend Ian had wanted somebody fresh just to come in and take a look, and it worked. So I want to come back in February, and I want to get a little bit competitive with each other, and I kind of want to bicker a little bit and get into that side of it as well, because I think it's all good. First of all, I want to thank Adam from the Black Swan Meeting. What a pleasure it always is.
Thank you.
And Carmen, you did a wonderful job. I'm always so proud of Carmen. Okay, guys, we're going to go down the stretch. We got to talk about a couple things, right? And then we're going to close with you. Geez, what a great show.
Is that what it says in your notes?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You wrote that down before the show happened.
No, I just sitting there thinking.
It's like,
I want to thank Owens Community College for allowing us to do our Ghost Hunting 102. And while we're all here, I want to thank Jeff Schlachter from Boo Productions, all the hard work. And he works with us on all of our investigations and doing documentaries, and he's always there. And Dana, his girlfriend,
and I promise documentaries will come out soon.
Listen, Jeff, you work so hard for us.
Well, it's a perfection.
And you come back with a dynamite class, just a dynamite. There was no way I thought you were going to top Dan's class, and I thought you would never in a million years reach what Butch did, and you blew me away.
I can only say that because I'm on camera.
No, I called you that night, and I said just how proud I was.
I always feel appreciated working with you, and I always have.
No, but sometimes you just are always re-amazing me, and I know how much hard work you put into what we're doing, and so I want to personally thank you and thank you for our Maxwell case, and just thank Butch and Carmen in general. But I want to thank Owens Community College and the students, and help me here in case I forget. Kathy, Nick, Judy Camachi, who else am I missing? And Dana Kosmider. Thank you guys for attending the class. We had a field trip. I went down to Stony Ridge. I can't say the location, but I want to thank Dean for allowing us to come in to his place to do an investigation. What a fun night.
Yeah.
We have a lot of evidence to review. Personal feelings don't matter here. Okay, we got a lot of work to do. Butch, you did a great job that night too, as well.
But I think we do have something compelling to show. It's visually on camera, but it's audibly, and it's good stuff.
Yeah. I want to thank.
I agree.
Well, you were there. We got a door, and we'll save it for later. But an attic door, a door had slammed that night, and you're trying to debunk it as we speak. I want to take a minute to thank Holiday Angels Toledo for allowing us to sponsor a family this year. I was upstairs. Carmen made a wonderful spread, some tacos, and I was so tired when I come in, but I made myself look, and they were excellent, by the way. Can I have one before I go? Okay, perfect. I was showing Carmen a text that we had got from one of the family members that we sponsored about a basket she made. But everybody that gave it, from A to Z, this family, we delivered the gifts today. First, Holly Angels Toledo, thank you for allowing us to sponsor this family. It's our 5th year. This family was grateful, and what a great job the Toledo Ghost Hunter Society did, and outsiders and friends and neighbors of our group to take care of this family. And what a special, you read the text, that basket meant everything to them. So, and everything did. Jeff, you and Dina went out and got gifts. We all did it. We worked really hard to make that happen. It's Christmas time, guys. Ghost Hunting 101 is going to start again in February at Owens Community College. What a perfect stocking stuffer gift certificate for Ghost Hunting 101. Butch is going to come back and talk about types of hauntings. Dan Kosmider comes back and gives you hands-on with the equipment. He did a great job as well. Jeff, you're going to come back and do another class as well. Becky does a dynamite job in her class. Michelle goes over some of the darker energies. What do? I go for coffee.
No, you're the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, right,
Seriously,
right. Adam, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Listen, there's gonna be people that want to see you. They're gonna want to go to your website. They're gonna want to go to your Facebook. They're gonna need some help, and I know you're gonna help them. Tell us all the different ways. You have so many hats on. Do I go to which website, which Facebook do I go to?
The easy thing is, yeah, I don't have a website just yet, but the best thing to do is just to go to the Black Swamp Medium page.
Right now, go there right now.
Like it.
Thumbs up.
That's the best way to hit me right now. You know, I'm hoping in the new year to get a website rolling and things like that, but it's just been easier because it's been free and I've been putting money into other little projects and things. You know, maybe something on the table that's costed me an arm and a leg, but anyway, yeah, Adam the Black Swamp Medium is a perfect place to go. And,
I stalked you, by the way.
Yeah.
Is there any other way that, like, say if I'm having trouble at home or I just need to talk to somebody, someone said that maybe you do live web streaming yourself. Is that true?
I mean, I do live stuff. So so if you go to me personally, you can do Adam Black Swamp Medium. The team I'm with, Spirit World Paranormal Investigations, or SWIFty as we like to do it. So you go like our team page and hit us up there if you want a team to come out. If you're looking to help yourself develop, there's a page that I'm associated with now called Beyond the Third Eye, or Behind the Third Eye, excuse me. And it's been a really fast growing.
Did Jeff think you stalking that site?
I'm checking it out right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
That's kind of a cool site.
yeah, that was a big collaboration of different psychic mediums, and
Do you have a set time you're on?
I usually try to be on Tuesdays. I've been a little, because of holiday and stuff, I haven't been on the last several weeks, and I'm probably not, I can't be on this Tuesday again because I'm going to be at a concert for my son. So I'll have to wait until the new year because we'll be getting with Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve those days. But usually I'm on Tuesday night. But yeah, Behind the Third Eye is a big page for it's a helper page. So people got questions, or they're curious, or they're open to things, or we do a lot of lives there. There's all kinds of different psychic mediums there. Some of them are great.
You're still my favorite.
Well, no, I appreciate it. But that's the thing is I think it's great because when you get to work with others, you really get to show, and you've heard different answers to us, and it's still the same result.
It's just a different perspective
Right.
on Behind the Third Eye.
Yep. And so, but that's the cool thing is when you get to work with other mediums and things, we all look at the things.
Wouldn't it be cool if I don't want to say I hope we have another case like we did last, but if we have another case, and maybe you and Carmen could work together, wouldn't it be cool? What are you guys gonna do with me? Just throw me out, or? Wait a minute, I might be speaking too soon. I might be out the door.
We're just going to have you go.
I'd like to introduce you both to the founders of Folks too.
We're just going to have you get coffee for us.
So everybody can visit you on Tuesday night.
Yeah. So, and I also do another show on Monday nights, which I will be on Monday night. I have a show called Beyond the Silence.
I watched that.
That's with my other medium friend, Debbie. So we do that on Monday nights usually. And so, so I'm on a couple times a week, and then, I'm Black Swamp Medium. So yeah, there's several different places to come find me, or.
That's awesome. I want to say this to you as we close out. You're very quiet and you're very humble, but you're doing something that I really think is awesome and helping people. And I know I personally turned people over to you. Why don't you just, for once at Christmas, tell us what you do. What are you doing during the week, and where are you doing that?
I'm a massage therapist in Maumee, Ohio, on Conant Street, 221.
Well, you've been a great help. I know I'm embarrassing you.
And you do energy readings.
Right.
too.
That's the point I want to do. You are helping our clients. What very quickly, and we got to get off the air. How does that play a role? Let me cut through the chase. You're helping a couple of clients. Why is that important? Whatever you're doing.
Because once the investigation's over, they might be okay being in their house, but mentally and spiritually, they're still juggling. They don't know what they're doing.
Perfect
so they
sense.
Come to me.
Perfect sense. You couldn't say any better. Guys, we got to get going now. From Butch, Jeff, Adam, Carmen, myself, and Dan on the other side, and Dana. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We'll see you soon. Fred Baird. And from Krampus. Krampus says good night. You're awesome.